What's good, YouTube? Cardfight King here, Aqua Life, baby. You already know how it is. And it's finally here. I am months late with it, but here is my long-awaited Maelstrom Aqua Force deck profile. Like I said, it's been a minute. The deck came out months ago, obviously, and I've been playing it at damn near every locals. Every tournament I've gone to, I've generally been taking it. I play with it in free time a lot, and honestly, for a while, for a good stretch, the deck never really changed any, and I could have uploaded a profile then, but, recently I've been working with some things, working with different strategies against the decks, looking at my matchups that, we're currently struggling with now and could potentially be struggling with in the future. And I've decided to kind of change up my playstyle, but as well as kind of change up the deck, obviously with input from some really good other Aqua Force players, like my boy Black Guy Senpai, my boy Wave Nation. So people like that definitely have been giving me some good tips on what they've been experiencing, and so this is kind of a culmination of that, as well as my own personal testing of what I see in my meta. So, without further ado, let's get into it. Alright guys, so obviously the starter is Officer Cadet Eric. They do the same, do the same starters, just ride and draw. 4 heal triggers, pretty standard. 4 PG draws. And then, so what I have next from a trigger lineup is 3 fronts and 5 crits. Now, the reason why I'm running the 3 front 5 crit build was originally I was going in between 6 fronts 6 draws and 8 fronts 4 draws, or 7 fronts 5 draws. I've been going in between those numbers, and the reason why I was playing all fronts is because, and I still play fronts because I believe in this trigger. I believe that this trigger is definitely a type of a game-ending trigger late game. It definitely helps get Maelstrom's re-standoff to be a little bit more guaranteed. That plus 10k to your board is really, really strong offensively. And it also helps, if your opponent has a damage trigger, well, then, my field still will be able to hit instead of it just being, just like, oh crap, you get a damage trigger, well, nothing can hit now. As well as defensively, the trigger also helps make it a little bit easier for me to guard, my rear guards, as well as my Vanguard, just being able to guard everything because everything got another plus 10k power. So, I still really believe in front triggers, and I feel like it's still a good trigger to run. But the reason why I switched to crits is, again, because, I was talking with my boy Wave Nation, I was looking at my own meta. Our hardest matchup, I truly believe, is really Shadow Paladins, to be perfectly honest. I feel like just them being able to just continuously blow up the field, whether it's Dark Dictator, Blaster Dark, but more importantly, Phantom Blaster Dragon, it's really hard for us to keep top decking titles and algos and things like that, and they're going to keep getting rid of our field. Plus, they're a Force clan, so they're already not that easy to hit. And the crit triggers, when we have like a minimal board or something like that, the crit triggers are there just because it's like, well, look, a lot of times they would no guard, like a 15k Maelstrom attack or something like that, or it would also open up plays for, later title assault plays, where title assault, on the Excel circle could get an extra crit, and then the opponent's forced to block them twice. So the crit trigger's there, mostly because those types of matchups, when our field is limited, I feel like a crit trigger would have a lot more value in those scenarios than a front trigger. But you still play the deck as if you kind of play front triggers, and obviously we are playing front triggers, so you still have the rush attacks, except now we've involved more crits, so our Vanguard attack is a little bit more scary. And if the opponent has knowledge that we have crit triggers in the deck, then they'll be more hesitant, which means that they'll be dropping a little bit more shield to block them, your second Maelstrom string, first or second Maelstrom swing, so that they don't take a crit to the face. Because when they're at 3 damage, a double crit can end it. If they're at 4 damage, they're really going to guard it, and that's just a lot more pressure, which is what the deck focuses on, is just really pressurizing hits, whether, from all of its on-hit abilities. So that's really the reason why I switched to crits, and so far in testing, the crits, the crit front mix-up has been working out nicely, and you can easily cut a crit and put in the front and go, full rainbow, but I wanted to lean more towards crits, just because I wanted to have a little bit better chance that if I were to hit a crit in, matches where I'm not getting a lot, where I'm not putting out a large board, or my board is consistently getting erased, like if you play against like Escaplate, or Novell or something like that, then at least these triggers will be better standalone if I just have to swing with my Vanguard and maybe another unit or so. So that's the reason why for that. Let's get on to the next stuff. Alright, so grade 1s, pretty simple for the grade 1s. Not too much going on here. 4 penguins, I'm going to talk about penguin in a second. 3 dagger, love dagger. 3 Theo, and 2 Viviana. First and foremost, I don't like Viviana. I really don't. But I'm running her because I'm starting to find more use from her ability. Again, it's another on-hit, pressure type of skill. 2, her ability works pretty well early game, putting her behind like an Algos or a Tidal Assault early game and getting the hit. She gives me an extra soul, might give something 3k, but then, she kind of replaces herself. But really, it's just, just a little extra on hit to build up soul. Because sometimes you want to call her out on hit and then you draw, then you draw a card off of her ability. Yes, it's replacing herself, but that's potentially, like a trigger or another shield that you add into your hands, because you commit the 10k shield, send it back, then you have a chance of getting another shield back or drawing into like another, rear guard that you, could use for the following turn. So that's the only reason why I'm running her, and I'm only running her at 2 because I don't really see her too often, but when I do, I'm figuring that because she only works on the rear guard, on either behind Navel Gazer or on the left or right rear guard circles. Other than that, she doesn't really do much. Penguin is essential to me at 4, mostly because Penguin wins the Mega Colony matchup. Being able to rest it, give something plus 5k, negate the effect from the Spark Hercules, I felt like is really important. Plus, he's our only countercharge. He's really our only countercharging card, so I think it is definitely important for him to be in there. Plus, he makes really good turn 2 combo play. So Penguin is definitely a staple in the deck, and we have many ways in which we could use them. And like I said, this card really helps in the Mega Colony matchup, and possibly could help in the sheer, I didn't really read the skill, but I know Shiryuki minuses your board at times and stuff, so this card could help, possibly alleviate that just a little bit if you happen to go up against that matchup, which I don't think you will majority of the time outside of locals, but, it is what it is. Grade 2s. It's up here. So, for grade 2s, guys, grade 2 lineup, very, very simple. 4 copies of Lazarus, 4 copies of Algos, and then 4 copies of, my avatar, my homeboy, Tidal Assault. Yes, I got my ORs. I'm really happy. I love them. This is just a very standard lineup. Nothing too wonky here. I don't really like, I don't really like Basil. I tried Basil out for a few weeks. Wasn't liking him. He never really went off, and when he did, it didn't, change too much, with the guarding and whatnot. Tried the 8k shooter that gets, power when you attack for a Soul Blast. He's okay, and if, he'd really be the only one I would want to sub in if I were to take down a Lazarus, because Tidal and Algos are not leaving the deck. They're not changing in number at all. But overall, Lazarus is just consistent. I tried out Trident Shooter, didn't like him, just really costly and wasn't exactly effective, even when I did use him. So, I just found Lazarus good, just being able, with Maelstrom, he's 15k, but he hits, when he attacks the Vanguard, he hits as if he were, a an Excel grade 3, being able to put him at 15, put an 8K behind him like Viviana, and make that a 23K pressure column is really nice. Him on the Excel circle, 20, be a base of 22 when you swing on an opponent's Vanguard, 25 if you use Maelstrom's ability. So he's just a really consistent card. Works on Vanguard, Rearguard, just overall consistent, and gets done when I need to get done. Makes good numbers, and that's what I wanted to do. Other than that, Algorithm's title, they're the breadwinners of the deck. They're literally these are literally the two most important cards in Aqua Force. They are the breadwinners. They are the cards that apply the pressure. They are the cards that are going to, generally lead your deck to victory. Unfortunately, our grade 3s don't really do too much. But, these two cards is where these two cards are the breadwinners of the deck. Let's move on to the grade 3s. Clean that up. Alright, so for grade 3s, running 2 copies of Riptide Dragon. I do like Riptide. 3 copies of Navel Gazer, and 4 copies of Maelstrom. Riptide Dragon, I'm running 9 grade 3s. Riptide Dragon at 2, I think it's really good. Very strong card. Obviously, if you ride it, then you're gonna play a lot more defensively. You're gonna definitely use as many, and also, another reason why I guess I play Viviana is for the chance to filter cards to the deck, because I don't want to sit on Riptide forever. But I don't ride him that often. And if I do, I just got to find a ways around it and deal with it. But he's just too strong on the rearguard circle. On an Excel circle, he's base 32, base 42 when he swings. On the rearguard circle, he's a nice 32K column, 35 if you use Maelstrom's ability. Just makes good numbers. Opponents usually perfect guard him or no guard him because they don't want to expend all that shield just for this one attack. So really strong. Navel Gazer, I like Navel. Okay, I'm not a big fan of Navel Gazer, mostly because he doesn't give the rearguard power. He gives himself the power, but though he does restand the rearguard. And again, I like Navel Gazer a little early on if I have to ride him, because that way I can probably just commit Navel Gazer and a title on Excel Circle, and I can get 19, 19, 22, restand 19. I can get a line like that. I can put Viviana behind him, swing for 30. If he hits, I get to give 3K to something else and draw a card, because that's when she's really only good behind the Vanguard circle, is if she's behind Navel Gazer. But Navel Gazer really struggles in a lot of different matchups as well. It also doesn't help that, when an opponent does hit a damage trigger, our other units don't have a little bit more of an access of power. So that means that cards like Lazarus, who swings for 22, if a force opponent hits a damage trigger, they're hitting 22. That's not going to hit. But I just find that Navel Gazer is a decent card, not horrible, but not great at the same time. Just a decent card. He gets done when he needs to get done. Really works well when you have a small board or you're not trying to commit too many cards. Like against Shadow Paladins, he's actually a really decent card against Shadow Paladins, because Maelstrom does want you to have a little bit more board, but Navel Gazer can work with 1 or 2 cards and still get off a pretty effective turn. So Navel Gazer does have his bright spots, but I think Maelstrom is, has a little bit, just offers the deck a little bit more. But like I said, both of these Vanguards don't really do too much. In Maelstrom, he relies on the 3rd or 4th battle hitting, but his plus 3K ability does let things hit. It, makes the front triggers a lot more valuable. It makes, other rear guards that were hitting for, non-force numbers being able to creep up into their power threshold for, and force out, rather than a 10K shield, they need a 15K shield and things like that, making 22, 25. So, I think Maelstrom also early on pressure for what he does is great. And players are really afraid of his restand. For some reason, opponents are more afraid of Maelstrom's restand, and they value it more than the actual Aqua Force player himself. And so, you know, with that added bonus, they really want to just block your third and fourth attack, and you can make those really threatening to drain shield, but it's kind of like, you know, sometimes I don't want to give up certain cards in my hand for his restand ability, but you know, if the cards fall right and you do let him restand, then, you know, that is possibly another chance for triggers, which is again why I put in the crits, because, you know, if he does happen to restand and I do have another chance for triggers, then that means that I get another chance, I get another opportunity to flip the top 2 cards of my deck and hopefully hit a crit trigger to, you know, to possibly seal the game, or put my opponent in a very, you know, awkward position where they're like, damn, I didn't really want to be at this damage, you know, at this point in the game, so where the game stays at. So, again, why I kind of constructed the deck the way I wanted to construct the deck is because I wanted to add in just the threat of crits. Again, it works better with Naval Gazer if I have to build a small board. It works with Maelstrom making his restand actually threatening, because you guys saw the video where Maelstrom is possibly the least threatening Vanguard. So that's kind of why I made the switch up to that. But you know, I'm learning to tempo out the cards a little bit better, make better formations, better attack patterns. Again, crit triggers also have the ability to open up Tidal Assault. Even front triggers do in a sense as well, but I'm doing, you know, different plays with Tidal Assault, you know, making him more flexible, being able to, you know, rather than swing with him first battle, I'll swing with Maelstrom first battle, and then, you know, any trigger effects, any power effects will go to Tidal Assault. So then you know, the third and fourth battle or thereafter, Tidal swings will be, you know, just that much more threatening, and then, you know, they'll have to deal with 2 big swings rather than, you know, 1 big swing here and then everything else is a single attack. So really, you know, the way I'm thinking with the deck has really helped, you know, evolve the way I play, and you know, the interactions that I you know, have within the deck. But that's the deck profile, guys. Hope you guys enjoyed. Hope you guys enjoyed the explanation. Definitely like, comment, subscribe. Let me know what you guys think, and look forward to more content. I will have the history of Aqua Force, or evolution of Aqua Force, excuse me, uploaded probably either later today or you know, probably sometime tomorrow. We'll be talking about the Legion era. All right, Cardfight King, and I'm out. Peace. Aqua Life, baby.